Alright guys, so in this video we're checking out the NewBeeDrone SavageBee. This is a 3-inch 1 to 2S toothpick style micro drone, and this platform has been around for a while now. I think Bob Rugi at FPV Cycle has did the first sort of an iteration of the baby tooth, and there's been other like sort of modifications out there, like the Mobula modification for 1S, etc., for 3-inch. This one's a little bit different in terms of specs and how it flies and all that, so we're just going to get into it here. Then basically the main difference here is the motor. It's a 1202 motor here now, 1202.5. Similar kV, about 11,420 kV instead of 11,500 kV. You get an all-in-one frame here, unibody, 2.5 inch or 2.5 millimeters thick. It's got a lot of cutouts, but it's fairly stiff. I mean, there's a little bit of play in it, but at this weight, it's probably not going to matter too much. The prop here is the Gemfan 3018 biblade, and you have the all-in-one flight controller here from NewBeeDrone. This is the B-Brain brushless. It's set up for 1 to 2S, and it is set up here as a 1S, and they recommend a 300 milliamp hour nitro nectar battery. You can get all this stuff from NewBeeDrone, and the BI camera and the Goober canopy rounds out all the parts. So this comes as a kit basically right now. They did send this to me fully built, so I'm not sure who built it over there at NewBeeDrone, but they built it for me and sent it out. So that saves me a lot of time from putting it together. It shouldn't take a whole lot of time to put together, but there's a couple things you probably want to be aware of. The screws for the motors here are a certain size, and you don't want to put the longer screws in here, otherwise you'll destroy the motor. So make sure you're using the right screw length here, so it's not going above the lip of the motor mount there at the bottom. It should not extend past that. Some people were using the longer screw. This one, I think it's this one here. Yeah, this one right here. That mounts the flight controller to the frame. If you use that screw for the motor, that will be too long and will go into the windings and will destroy your motor. So be aware of that. Saw some people doing that. The motors are soldered on, as you can see here, directly soldered, and they're not using the plugs that are available on this flight controller board. And they're using the capacitor in like that on the inside, video transmitter antenna there. And then I modified my receiver antennas to go down and up like this. So I was having all kinds of problems with fail-safes. Fly about 20 feet away and it would just drop to the ground. I would get a fail-safe. And originally this antenna, both these antennas here were up right next to each other. And I think that actually causes problems with the receiver chip that's built into the board. So I left this one up, and then the one over here on the right, I moved it to the bottom. I actually see it's coming out the side, and it's going down the bottom like this, and that does help a lot. I was getting constant telemetry lost, telemetry recovered warnings, like when it was sitting literally 3 feet away from me, and all those warnings went away. Now the RSSI does seem to get kind of low. Wasn't really going too far, maybe like 100 meters at the most. And you can see the RSSI was dropping in the below 50 range, so 40, 50 range. And so didn't want to fly too far away and had to walk a while to see how far I can go. You could probably go maybe 200 meters on this receiver here. I've had, issues with this receiver in terms of like long-term range on the Whoop version of this. I think it's called the B-Brain brushless Whoop edition, and this uses the same board, so it has the same sort of receiver issues. It is a built-in SPI receiver. I think they do have RPM filter enabled in this, but it's the 24 kilohertz setting right now. This is the way it came from NewBeeDrone. You can switch this to 48 kilohertz if you want a little bit more flight time. So on 24 kilohertz with the 300 milliamp hours, only getting like 2 minutes and 15 seconds of flight time on these brand new batteries. Maybe you can get 2.5 minutes, but I'm hearing that if you switch it to 48 kilohertz from 24 kilohertz in the settings, and if you're only flying 1S, then you can get a bit of longer flight time. I didn't test that in this video. Actually, I didn't test any of the other scenarios that you can possibly change here. So there's a lot of things you can change. Obviously, you can fly 1S or 2S. I only flew 1S, no 2S. And one of the things that a lot of people are changing are this connector here, because it does have the folding pins, as you can see there. And that is a controversy with a lot of people. It tends to be inefficient and lose a lot of energy through those folded pins. So if you want to do modifications, if you go to the NewBeeDrone Facebook group, there's a ton of people making changes. You can change the connector. You can try the GNB27 connector, XT30. People are trying bigger batteries. Instead of the 300s, they're going to like a 450 or 520 with a different connector totally, so you can switch the connector out. If you want to do 2S, you need obviously to switch the connector out or do some sort of a pigtail adapter thing for 1S to 2S, and you can use 2 batteries. You can also do 2 300s in parallel. In parallel. They'll give you basically 600 milliamp hours if you want to get a longer flight time. Then again, you need some sort of an adapter for converting this one connector into for basically using 2 connectors, and none of that stuff is included in the kit. So these are all things that you have to kind of figure it on your own in terms of modifications and all that. Probably the best resource is to go to the Facebook group and get some ideas over there as to what you want to do in terms of improving the out of the box performance. Now, in terms of building it, like you see here, there is a build video that they already put together. I'll link that down in the description. You can follow along with their build video. It's pretty long and involved in terms of how all the parts are put together. It's fairly simple, basically, because the flight controller is so integrated. It's got the receiver and the video transmitter all on the same board. You're just basically connecting the camera via connector there, and the only soldering you're doing is the motor wires for the motors, and then the screws for the motors and the screws for the flight controller mount. So that's pretty much it for the build. I'll just show you how much all this weighs. You guys can watch the baby tooth video if you want to see what a comparison is of that build and how much that weighs. I don't have that model anymore because I lost it in a tree somewhere. Thanks to some windy conditions, so don't fly stuff like this in windy conditions. You'll probably lose it like I did, but this is what this weighs. No battery, 40 grams, and then with the way I flew it here with the 1S 300, it's coming in at 48 grams total weight. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of flights here. They're pretty short, but they'll give you an idea of how this performs in this scenario here with 1S. So obviously there's a lot, again, a myriad of different ways you can put this together. 1S, 2S, different battery sizes, etc. My biggest thing is if you want to just get more flight time and not have to mess with a connector or anything like that, just get like a GNB 451S. It's going to be a little bit heavier, but it'll give you more flight time. So that's probably going to be the cheapest, easiest solution. So I'll link some of those down, those batteries down in the description as well. Anyway, here's some flight footage, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. So I'm going to let you guys hear the props. It's super quiet. And after I move this away, you're not going to be able to hear it. It's a little bit floaty. It's kind of, because it doesn't have any weight, it's a little tricky to handle. But this ought to not really bother anybody. Definitely noise is not going to be a problem with this one, and you don't have a lot of camera angles, so if I want to go faster, I am tending to kind of look towards the ground. And you can see here certain angles, like right here, as I was passing over this table, where the sun is angled and reflecting off the table's highlights are completely blown out. It's hard to see where the table is here, and then all of a sudden there it is. As far as I can tell, the tune seems pretty spot on. Nothing weird's going on. So I'm flying everything totally stock. I haven't done any good tuning at all, but it looks like the battery is dead. About 2.5 minutes of flight, and the video just totally cut out there. Gonna try another battery and see what the range is like. I did move one of the antennas to the bottom, and you see the range is not that great. Around, oh, it's under 50 now. I don't feel like I'm gonna fail safe here. I've heard some people fail safe even closer, so you probably want to keep this nearby. Can't do much of a power loop. There's like no power. Let's try that again. A little bit of a wind. Yeah, I don't think power loops are going to work on this. You probably want to go with maybe a little bit bigger battery if you want more flight time. You can see, 2 to 2.5 minutes, depending on how hard you're pushing it. It's probably what you're looking at here. And I think about a little over 2 minutes is probably where you want to stop so you don't destroy the batteries, because if you over discharge them, they'll get damaged over time. So I would think maybe like a 450 GMB battery wouldn't be a bad idea. Probably a lot more flight time with those.